welcome back. So just like I did in the first generation video, I'll now let you see all the footage I recorded for the musical extravaganza video, but in a nice calm way with no hard cuts etc. In many ways these units are more meaningful to me as I actually got to work on some of them as a trainee and eventually full driver. Let's get to it. Ready? That was the Bachmann 4 Sep in green, with a Bachmann MLV on the back. Very prototypical for the Kent lines back in the day, and in fact I saw Seps and MLVs flying past Chartleacon Depot in Ashford, Kent. Here are some slide scans I took. A full visit to the Chartleacon Open Day, which was 1982 if I remember, can be seen with a link in the top right here now. The Seps were known to me as 1957 stock, and I was trained on them. Very nice with motor bogies under each cab. I love the sound of those motors getting going. But I did not drive many of them. In fact, I ended up driving far more of their buffet versions, the Beps. A small series of these was at work on the Portsmouth to Waterloo line when I was a driver there. And I'd often find myself at the head of a train with 2301, 2304, 2307 at the front. Good fun to drive, but when paired up with the CIGs, especially the Greyhound fitted CIGs, it could be challenging as the older Beps were not as quick off the mark. Here are a couple of photos of 2304 and 2307 at Havant back in the day. Greyhound fitted CIGs, I hear you ask. These CIGs had an extra motor weak field that kicked in at around 50 miles per hour, providing a noticeable boost to speed. Back to the models. We just watched two EPVs leave the yard and head off. Now these and their four-car sisters were a firm favourite of mine, and were in fact the basis for all my driver training, as the 1951 stock, as they were known, were my base traction. You learnt them, and everything that came after was a mini conversion course for them. They were brilliant to drive, and the four-car versions were unstoppable, almost, as you had two of every system you needed to keep going. Two sets of motors, two sets of batteries, two compressors, and so on. In fact, if you stick two EPVs together, like I've done here, apart from the middle cabs, you have a 4 EPV. The sound these units made was wonderful. However, I was based at Fratton, and I'd not get to drive these fine old units that much. Usually only when they got sent down in the early morning, when the snow was too deep for anything else to get through, would I see them. One glorious day, my friend Mark the Guard and I had a 4 EPB on the Portsmouth to Brighton and back stopper. Oh my, the bad track did make them rough ride. I remember looking back and seeing the coaches bouncing up and down behind me. But lots of heads were turned and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. They were of course suburban units really. Again, motors under the cabs on each end of a 4 EPB. Just one set of motors at one end on the 2 EPB, the guard's van end, all marked with a black triangle. EPB simply means electro-pneumatic brake, which was a means of supplying the brake cylinders with a fully controllable amount of air pressure with an inexhaustible supply of air from the main reservoir. I did say the 2 Hell was a crossover unit, didn't I? Now here comes the Brighton Belle. Now I know she really belongs to the first generation units as she was built in the 1930s, but her livery is 1969, which is why she's here with the more modern units. Probably the perfection of the Southern Region's electric train fleet. They spent their time working between Brighton and London with the famous breakfasts and equally famous passengers on occasions. They also worked a number of excursions along southern lines, especially when their days were numbered. I've seen photos of them at Bosham, near Chichester, for example. The Hornby model is beautiful and runs very sweetly indeed. Okay, the plugs and sockets between the coaches can be a bit stiff, but using the uncoupler and applying a light grease, such as Belle 102, to the friction areas will result in easy coupling and uncoupling. Some viewers have commented on the sound in these videos. I use a sensitive Rode camera mounted microphone, and I do boost the sound a little as well, as I think these models sound so realistic when running. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Alright, just before we move on in model timescales, a little more about my time as a trainee and full-time driver. Here is my driver's class. Can you spot me? There's an arrow to help you. All very formal, eh? Well, not always. Look at me here. Don't think I'd fit now, never mind even get up there. Oh dear, oh dear. What was great about our training is we got a really good base in the railway we would call home for so long. Even taking in the 4PEP at Clapham Junction, the forerunner of all sliding door suburban stock to come, and the direct progenitor of the Class 313s that are in their final days down here on the south coast. Here's me with 313-201, known as Big Blue. Alright, back with the models, and here is the Bachmann 4TC being propelled by Dapol's Class 73126. There's a couple of videos about these models already, so I'll put links to them in this video's information box, so you can go and check them out should you wish to. Finishing off then, we have the iconic DJ models Class 71 and Pullmans, and the Brighton Belle once again. More links for the 71 will appear, but surely this loco deserves its place among the Southern Electrics. I'll be quiet now and let you enjoy the trains. Thanks for watching, and see you again soon.